It's Tom Brady's 45th birthday. Happy birthday, Tom. And his running back, Leonard Fournette, look at this, they got him a goat cake. That's kind of spooky, that's so real. Bah. Brady was named the greatest quarterback in NFL history, of course, by a panel of 50 ESPN experts, reporters, and analysts. He got 44 of the 50 votes. The only other quarterbacks to receive votes were Joe Montana and Peyton Manning. Harry, should Tom Brady have gotten 100% of the votes?
Yes, he should have. When you think about Tom Brady, he's been to 2 Super Bowls. He has 7 rings. He's age 44 last year. Throws was over 5,300 yards, 43 touchdowns. Who are the 6 people? Who are the 6 people that didn't vote for Tom Brady?
Let me play devil's advocate, because of course Brady is the GOAT, right? But let me give maybe a counter argument. Brady's peak, he's like the Jay-Z of football, okay? He's the GOAT, like Jay-Z is the GOAT, really inarguable, because his peak is nearly as high as anyone's peak ever, and he sustained it for 10 times longer than everyone, right?
Correct.
But if you value peak performance, I don't know if there were very few years where Brady was consensus the best player in football. In fact, like Hank Aaron broke the home run record because every year he's one of the best home run hitters, but he never hit 50 home runs in a season. Brady's kind of got that GOAT thing going on. Under pressure, you love him. Peyton Manning in the regular season was usually a better quarterback than Tom Brady, and that was the consensus at the time. But Peyton was not nearly as good under pressure. But the consensus was when they were both active, yeah, you want Brady, but yeah, I guess the argument, the best one that can be made is for Peyton. And Joe Montana, the original Tom Brady, played in 4 Super Bowls, won all 4, threw 13 touchdowns, no interceptions in those Super Bowls. So if you, by the way, Patrick Mahomes is doing things now, you're like, oh my
goodness.
I'm just saying, if you
Kellerman.
value peak performance, maybe you think, in order to call someone the GOAT, he has to at some point have been a guy who I looked at and said, that's the best I've ever seen.
So if you mention Joe Montana, why not mention Terry Bradshaw? Terry Bradshaw went undefeated in Super Bowls. Why not mention Troy Aikman? He went undefeated in Super Bowls. He went 3 for 3.
Because no one in their day, no one thought of Bradshaw as the best player in football. No one thought of Aikman as the best player in football. They were among the best. And most years, Brady in any given year, wasn't considered, yeah, that's the best player in football. It's when we take a step back and look at the body of work that we say it. But there were years, well, Montana had Dan Marino the way Joe Montana had Peyton Manning, where a lot of people said, yeah, Marino's better, but Montana's the guy you want.
The reason why Marino doesn't have a Super Bowl, too.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying. I think the argument is that you have to, like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan not only has the most rings and had the best numbers and everything, but every year he was Billy Michael Jordan, everyone, not even a single person said, I think so-and-so is better than him. Everyone knew, yeah, that guy's the best in the league every single year. That has not been Tom Brady.
These people just voted this. Everybody knows Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. Everybody would take Tom Brady when the game's on the line in a Super Bowl. If you're talking about clutch quarterback, I'm taking Tom Brady, and I'm gonna take Adam Vinatieri thicker along with it.
Yeah, right. Vinatieri. Yeah. I'll take Eli Manning, and I'll beat you twice. But right, look, I'm playing devil's advocate. It's such a good job. I may have just convinced myself, but I'm playing devil's advocate. It is you can't give GOAT at quarterback to anyone else. Yeah. If your peak is almost as high as anyone's ever, and you sustain it for 23 years. What's crazy to me, and I talked about Tom House, his throwing coach, who also worked with Nolan Ryan, who did a very similar thing, is he just won the Super Bowl, and so he played more football than anyone. And right off that season, the NFL institutes a 17-game regular season. And he plays all 17 of those games and leads the league at the age of 44, having just played more football than anyone the year before and won the championship. He leads the league in attempts, completions, and touchdowns.
Yes.
He's working harder than anyone else at that age, and how do you even do that?
And then when you get a start this year at age 45, that's going to be the oldest quarterback in NFL history that starts an NFL football game. So Tom Brady, he's not done breaking records. He's just stacking onto the trophy case that he already has.
And as the man who years ago predicted he could play at the same level until he's 45, I think, just listen to me.
He scares his body.
Speaking of GOATs, we have something on Michael Jordan. Birthday Tom Brady. Father Time, still getting the business from the GOAT. Father Time was undefeated until he met Tom Brady. The Bucs quarterback is preparing for year 23. That would be 23 years in the NFL, not for long, it's supposed to stand for. And by the way, he just led the NFL in everything, in the first 17-game regular season at that, and that was coming off a Super Bowl win. So he just played more football than anyone. Attempts, passing, yards, touchdowns. Could holes on the offensive line finally catch up to Teflon Tom? That's the question. On Brady's birthday, we had to bring in his old teammate Rob Ninkovich for a little Captain Robvious. What's the Robviously best moment of Brady's career, Rob?
Well, obviously, it would have to be his first Super Bowl win. And you think back to that first one where he's coming in as a young player. He got the hands on the head, shaking his head. I can't believe it. I did it. I won a Super Bowl. I wasn't supposed to be here. And then from that point on, the rest is history. So I'm going to have to go with the first Super Bowl. It's always the best Super Bowl, in my opinion. Me winning my first one, it was insane. So moments, I got to go with this first one because things had to happen in a certain order.
He was still relying on the defense and the kicker back then. What do you think? What's the obvious number of TD passes Brady will throw this season, Nick?
45. I'm going to go with the 45 number because he's 45 years old. Why not throw one touchdown for every year you have been on this lovely earth?
Wow. Brady currently with 7 rings, Rob. What's the obvious number of Super Bowl rings Brady will end his career with?
Well, I'm going to count them out for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's going to finish with 7. I think he'll have this many by the time he is finished. I just don't know if they can get there and if they can win one last one. And then what? Is he going to go to Miami and try and win one? Is he going to play till he's 60? I don't know. But I think 7's the magic number.
First of all, Harry Douglas, we have to commend Rob Ninkovich, who played like 10 years at linebacker in the NFL and can still count to 7. That was impressive. Secondly, do you agree with Nick? Is Brady
and I've never jammed a finger.
Harry.
Never jammed a finger.
That is incredible.
Nico,
it's like Rocky before he got his nose broken. Remember in the first Rocky?
I don't think he's done. That's a possibility. I love the defense and love the additions that they made down there in Tampa Bay. So as long as they have that defense playing strong and being healthy, Tom Brady has a chance. He is the GOAT. Let's be serious, Nico.
Diana, what level of Brady do we need to see this season for the Bucs to be serious Super Bowl contenders?
I think the best. Harry, I appreciate your belief in Todd Bowles' system and the players they have there and what they've been able to put together. And I'm not saying I'm betting against Tom Brady. I've already made this mistake many times on these airwaves. But the fact that he's missing significant pieces on his offensive line, starting with Ryan Jensen. I know he's just a center. You think, what's the big deal? The relationship he has with his centers and the relationships he's had over his career with his centers is so crucial. And he's so particular about who he's working with. And the fact that he lost such a key player concerns me. On top of the fact that we know that Gronk is not in there as well. I don't have an intense amount of confidence the way I did last season to start the season. At least when you take a look at their schedule, it's a doozy. So I think it's going to take a minute. I'm sure because it's Tom Brady, he'll figure it out. But I just believe, Max, this has to be the best version of Tom Brady we've seen, probably since he turned 40.
Along those lines, he's a much better quarterback now than in the first half of his career. Like, it's amazing. And Dr. Tom House, the throwing guru, the throwing doctor, who not just pitching or throwing a football, but he worked with Nolan Ryan when I was a kid. Nolan Ryan had the highest innings totals, the most strikeouts, 4-man rotation. He was a great pitcher, but never among the very, very best in the game until he late 30s, early 40s, he's suddenly leading the league in ERA and WHIP and all the important, analytical categories. And the same guy works with Tom Brady. I have to say, he got the same results. Tom Brady, Nick, to my eye, Harry, to my eye, looks like a better quarterback in the last 3 or 4 years, or let's say since he got to the Bucs, certainly, than he did the first couple of years on the Patriots. I mean, you played against him, Harry. Like, what do you think?
He has to fine-tune things now. The older you get, you have to fine-tune things even more. Diana, I will even tell you, listen, if Ryan Jensen was going to be out the entire year, I would have gave you that one. The fact that it's an opportunity that he can come back, especially for that Super Bowl run, I am not counting out a guy named Tom Brady. I can't do it. I've seen it happen too many times.
So, Nick, you played with Brady for the better part of a decade. What's the best version of Tom Brady? Like, how does this guy stack up to that guy?
It's completely different. The league has changed so much. I mean, you look at 2000, 2001, the rules that are in place, how they protect the quarterback. I mean, look, every single player right now in training camp has one of those things on their head to protect them from hitting each other. I mean, you go back to 2001, there was no talks of protecting anybody. So the game has completely changed in that amount of time. It's a spread offense now. Back then it was more power running game. The linebackers were 260 pounds. Now they're 225. Everything has changed to be a faster throwing style, and they changed defenses to where you can't jam them within 5 yards. It helps the offense, it helps fill seats, it helps the scoreboard, it helps the yardage. So obviously, as he's played his career along the way, the game has changed dramatically, the rules have changed dramatically, and if he was still playing in 2001 at 45, I don't think he makes it through the year because of how physical it was back then.
Maybe not. But
and
early in his career,
Rob, you know better than anyone because, Rob, you practiced against Tom all the time, and you know him well. Anytime I talk to a defensive coordinator that's facing Tom Brady, they always add in terms of the game plan, is we got to hit him. We have to chip him. He hates to be hit. He gets squirmy. He doesn't want to be a hit. So if he doesn't have the protection that he needs and is used to and is comfortable with, this could be the year where we see him get banged up. And I'm not putting that out there that way. That's horrible karma there. But this could be an actual real significant issue, Max.
Look, I'm a Giants fan. I remember how the Giants won those 2 Super Bowls against Tom Brady, 2 of them. Not just Eli's miracle plays and stuff. The edge rushers got all the credit, but it was the tackles, the defensive tackles collapsed the pocket. When Brady, who's not very mobile, doesn't have a pocket to step up into, he is not the same guy. And if your center is not there and you don't have the interior blocking that you need, it could be a problem. By the way, I wanted to say quickly, Nick, the game has changed, obviously, and you would know better than I. But Tom Brady back then was among the best quarterbacks in the game, Peyton and Favre and these guys back then. And today, he's still among the best quarterbacks in the game. However the game has changed, he has evolved with it to really maintain his place among the elite for 23 years. It's just unheard of. All right, guys, let's move it along. Dak Prescott does not seem too concerned about the issues going on at wide receiver. But should we trust the Cowboys QB to carry the offense without his key weapons? And